Hello, I'm Chuck Phillip with South Alabama Home Inspections, and welcome to another edition of Southern Home Talk. What we're looking at is a yellow jacket nest that I uncovered yesterday. It was pretty well camouflaged by all these leaves you see right there above. I came out here last night and raked it all off while they were still in their nest asleep, so I could get a better look of exactly where the opening is. And these are yellow jackets, and sometimes they call them digger wasp. That's what some people call them here. And they're not like honeybees. They can sting you multiple times, and they can even bite as if stinging wasn't bad enough. And they can also have several queens to even many queens, depending on how big the nest is. And they get even more aggressive as the fall time approaches because they're starting to run out of food sources. And they kind of build their nest in old rotted logs, underneath stumps, but pretty much anywhere in the ground. So you got to be really careful where you're walking in your yard, because like I say, they can be super well camouflaged. And basically, if you see a lot of swarming flies around the ground level, you may need to assume that could be a yellow jacket nest. And so that's particularly important if you're about to mow your grass. So I always kind of scope out the yard a little bit first before I mow it. And if you want a riding lawnmower, they can come out from underneath there and just really tear you up before you can get off of it. And there's been some people that's died from these, even locally. They're just really bad news. And so if you've got these yellow jacket nests on your property, you need to destroy the nest. And I know a lot of people like to use gasoline to do that, but I found a safer way of doing it, and that's with the 5-gallon bucket, warm water, and about 2 cups of Dawn dishwashing detergent. And so what I'll do is I'll wait till tonight when they're all back in their beds asleep, and I'll mix that potion up and pour the entire 5-gallon bucket on it. And I've always had good success. It usually always works. So anyway, that's just something else we got to look out for living here in the deep south. And I will put part 2 to this up later on tonight. Okay, now for the mix. So what you do is just take a regular 5-gallon bucket. It don't have to really be that clean, and go ahead and fill it up, say most of the way with water, and then go ahead and pour your Dawn dishwashing liquid in it. I always buy this in large containers because it has so many uses. And this is about 2 cups of Dawn, so I'm going to go ahead and pour it in there real easy. And I'll also rinse it out some. Get it all in there. And the reason why you want to put the water in first, because if you do it the opposite way, it'll just foam up and you'll only have about half the water in all head. You can take just any kind of handle and stir it. Just want to stir it real gentle. Pretty much just want to get it all mixed in there. Basically, I could use the other end of the brush to clean it. And what I like to do is, after I get it pretty well mixed in, is to put a little bit of a head on it, because it will kind of saturate the top part of the nest. And that's how easy that is. That's pretty much done. So now all you got to do is wait for nightfall. It should be dark, because that's the time they all go back to their nest, and they're all there basically laying down low and going to bed. So whenever it gets nightfall, we'll pour it on it. Okay, it's nighttime now, and hopefully they're all in bed. So what I did is I took the water hose and I created a little foam head on top of the mixture I made earlier today. And so now I'm going to pour this entire bucket on their nest, and hopefully that'll take care of it. So I'm going to see if I can put my camera down to where I can at least film me pouring it on the nest. Pour the entire bucket on it. It's one coming out now. No, it's not either. Well, none of them came out, so that saturated their nest. So we'll just let that soak in, and then when daylight comes, I'll come out here and dig it up and see what happened to them. I'm pretty sure they're all gone. This is basically the best way I've found to take care of yellow jackets, is by mixing Dawn dishwashing liquid into a 5-gallon bucket of water and saturating the nest with it. Okay, it's now the next day, it's daylight, and so let's see what we have. Basically what I did is I put this bug zapper over the top of their hole, just in case there was a straggler out there somewhere that wanted to get back in, and he'd get zapped by that trying to do that. So I'm going to take it off. Really not much to see. It's kind of hard to see in there because the nest is pretty much up under all this root matter. But I was able to dig some of it out, and this is what we got. They had the beginnings of a pretty good paper nest, and what you're seeing there is the larvae of some of the eggs that hadn't hatched yet, and those are the dead yellow jackets. This was a little bit bigger nest than what I thought it was. It just didn't appear to be so big from viewing how many yellow jackets were flying around the entrance, so sometimes it's hard to judge the size of the nest based on that. But they are definitely all dead. Like I say, these things are extremely painful if you ever get tagged by one of these. And so, like I said earlier in the first part of this, basically if you're out working your yard, keep in mind, watch where you're walking. You need to do that anyway for snakes, but take your time and look at the ground level and see if you see any flies flying around. And if you do, well, there's a chance that it could be a yellow jacket nest. Usually you'll see a few of them flying around the entrance, and the bigger the nest is, the bigger swarm you'll see around it. But there again, sometimes you might not see any activity at all, and so you could just unfortunately step on it, and you'll find out when you get on top of it, because they will let you know about it. And so anyway, just be careful out there if you're doing your yard cleanup, and always watch out for these yellow jackets. Also, take the time to look at the episodes we have on hurricane preparedness. We do have an episode about cleanup with hurricanes and the sort of things you need to be watching out in addition to this. And I'm Chuck Phillip with South Alabama Home Inspections, and please subscribe to Southern Home Talk. Thanks.